There's a philosophy behind this character that I actually get, and appreciate.
It's kind of like you figure out how much you could push yourself, and I'm a very spiritual man.
Yeah.
Imagine this. You're staring at your laptop at 2 a.m., a cup of cold coffee in hand, eyes bloodshot, mind buzzing with ideas and doubt at the same time. You've been grinding for weeks, maybe months, maybe even years, chasing that elusive first $100,000 online. You've seen flashy success stories, people bragging about overnight wins, viral posts, or apps that made them millionaires. You thought, I can do that too. But here's the brutal truth. The first $100,000 is a battlefield, and most people don't make it past the first trenches. In fact, around 90% quit before they see even half of it. And if you're someone trying to make this work, you're about to enter a phase that will test everything you think you know about discipline, resilience, and mental toughness. This phase isn't glamorous. It doesn't have shiny rewards or viral moments. It's the long, dark stretch where your excitement slowly clashes with reality. It starts with what seems like endless effort and negligible returns. You post content that nobody sees. You launch products that barely sell, and your mind starts whispering the most dangerous words. Maybe this isn't for me. That whisper, if you're not careful, becomes a scream, drowning out every ounce of passion that got you started. And yet, the people who push through this, who learn to navigate the invisible forces at play in this phase, are the ones who eventually see the numbers climb. At first, the grind feels like it's moving in slow motion. You'll hustle for hours, creating, posting, marketing, and testing every strategy you can think of. You'll optimize your social media profiles, learn SEO hacks, master email marketing, and still, nothing. Zero sales. Zero engagement. That post you spent 8 hours perfecting gets a handful of likes. Your funnel doesn't convert. Your ad spend feels like throwing money into a black hole. And here's the cruel reality. This isn't a glitch in the system. This is exactly how it's supposed to feel for most people. The system is designed to weed out the ones who aren't willing to endure months of frustration for years of freedom. Now, this is where mindset becomes more than just a buzzword. It's the difference between quitting and scaling. You start to question your approach, your talent, your intelligence. Imposter syndrome creeps in. Every failed attempt feels like proof that you're not cut out for this. And the worst part, you'll see others seemingly winning with less effort. That's when the envy kicks in, the self-doubt multiplies, and the temptation to quit becomes almost irresistible. But here's a secret most people won't tell you. Comparison is poison. Every person you see celebrating their first $100,000 likely endured this exact phase, grinding in silence while everyone else partied. And it's not just emotional fatigue. This phase is physically brutal too. Your body starts reacting to the stress. Sleep becomes erratic. Energy dips. Focus blurs. You'll have moments where even the simplest tasks feel monumental. That 30-minute content session turns into 3 hours, because your brain is screaming enough. And yet, every day you push a little further, you build resilience that compounds faster than your bank account ever could. This phase is training you, shaping you into someone who can handle the success that's coming. One of the most dangerous traps in this phase is the illusion of instant strategies. You see headlines like "earn $10,000 in a week" or "turn your side hustle into a fortune in 30 days." And your brain wants to jump on every shiny object. The reality is, the first $100,000 is rarely made with one viral post or one clever hack. It's made with a series of small, imperfect steps, repeated consistently over time. It's showing up when no one else is watching. It's testing, failing, adjusting, and doing it again. It's building systems instead of waiting for inspiration. And yes, it's mind-numbingly slow. But this is also where you start separating yourself from the 90% who quit. Let's talk about self-sabotage, because it sneaks in faster than you think. When you're exhausted and frustrated, your mind looks for relief. You start scrolling social media instead of working. You delay the next launch. You tell yourself, "I'll start tomorrow." That tomorrow can stretch into months if you don't catch it. And here's the catch. Quitting isn't always dramatic. It's not always a big announcement. Sometimes it's subtle. Small compromises, tiny breaks in discipline, decisions that erode momentum until one day you realize, I gave up without even noticing. This is why mental toughness is forged here, in the invisible battles you fight when no one is watching. Now, for those who make it, the breakthrough doesn't come with fireworks either. It's usually incremental. One sale, a small spike in traffic, a post that actually resonates. But these small wins are powerful. They inject belief into a system that has been tested and worn down. You begin to see patterns, what works, what doesn't, and how to scale it. The numbers slowly move from 0 to a few hundred, then to a few thousand, and suddenly, that $100,000 ceiling that seemed impossible starts to feel inevitable. But let's not sugarcoat it. This phase exposes the truth about your character. Are you in this for a hobby or a real result? Can you persist when the world ignores you? Can you handle failure not as an obstacle but as a signal to adjust? Many fail not because they lack ideas or talent, but because they cannot endure the monotony and frustration of the early grind. And the funny thing is, success in this phase often comes down to repetition more than brilliance. Consistency beats creativity when you're starting from 0. Showing up every day when everything inside you wants to quit, that is your competitive edge. One tactic that separates the winners from the quitters is ruthlessly focusing on metrics. This isn't about vanity metrics like likes or followers. It's about revenue, leads, and conversions. When you're making your first $100,000, every dollar, every lead, every sale counts. You start to analyze the numbers obsessively. You notice trends in customer behavior, refine your messaging, and learn to predict what works. This obsession with data keeps you accountable, prevents wasted effort, and accelerates growth. And when you finally push through, something shifts. That $0 to $100,000 journey doesn't just build your bank account. It reshapes your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone capable of starting from scratch and creating value in the real world. Every rejection, every failed launch, every sleepless night becomes proof of your resilience. You no longer fear failure, you expect it, embrace it, and use it as fuel. And suddenly, the same tactics that once felt like drudgery now feel like powerful tools in your hands. You're no longer blindly grinding. You're intentionally building a system that scales. At this point, growth accelerates. You can replicate your successes, optimize for efficiency, and focus on high-leverage activities. The foundation laid during those grueling months of 0 returns becomes the engine that propels you forward. And perhaps most importantly, you develop patience, a quality most people never acquire. You understand that success is a process, not an event. You've endured the phase that 90% of people quit during. And that experience alone gives you a confidence and clarity most will never achieve. But here's the kicker. Even after $100,000, the grind doesn't stop. That milestone is just the first proof point, the first taste of what's possible. Beyond it lies a new set of challenges, scaling pain points, and mental hurdles. Yet, having survived the brutal early phase, you now have a blueprint for overcoming obstacles. You've learned that consistent effort, mental toughness, and relentless focus are more valuable than talent or luck. And because you've seen the abyss of quitting, you approach new challenges with an unshakable resolve. And let's be honest, if you've made it this far, you've already done what 90% of people couldn't. You've learned to endure silence when you expected applause, to act when the world doubted, and to trust yourself when no one else would. That phase between $0 and $100,000 is like a crucible. It burns away excuses, illusions, and weak habits, leaving behind someone capable of handling success, not just chasing it. Every setback, every tear, every moment you thought about quitting was actually preparing you for what comes next. So, the next time you feel like throwing in the towel, remember this. The brutal phase isn't a sign that you're failing. It's proof that you're doing something worth fighting for. The grind is harsh, the process is lonely, but the rewards are real, lasting, and transformative. You're not just building income, you're building the version of yourself who doesn't quit, who can endure, and who can thrive when most others fall away. And if you ever doubt whether it's worth it, just imagine looking back a year from now at the $100,000 that seemed impossible today, knowing you endured the storm, faced the doubts, and refused to give in. That's not just money. That's proof of resilience, proof of character, proof that you survived the phase where 90% of people quit. because of the brutal phase. It doesn't last forever. But the lessons, the discipline, the strength it forges, they last a lifetime. And that first $100,000 is just the beginning.